BetOnline is the #1 source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB and golf to the NBA and NHL playoffs. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Whitley, Arrighetti, Brown, and France. Sounds like a law firm. Let's discuss on Believe in Astros.
What's up, Astros fans?
This game is turned upside down!
Welcome to the Believe in Astros podcast with your hosts, sports writer Jeff Balke and former pitcher and Astros broadcaster Mike Stanton. Now, direct from H-Town, here's Balke and Stanton.
What is up, Astros fans? Welcome to episode 112 of the Believe in Astros podcast on the Believe Podcasting Network. I'm Jeff Balke alongside my co-host Mike Stanton. It's been a real weird year already, guys, and we need to get into it. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine, and that is the understatement, of the season so far. It has been like the ultimate. You remember back in the day, the Texas Cyclone? That's the roller coaster that it's been on so far.
It's, you know what it is? It's like an Angel Hernandez strike zone. We just don't know what we're going to get on a day-to-day basis.
Which we witnessed that just a couple days ago.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I'll ask you about that in a moment. So, first of all, a little bit of news that just happened over the last couple of hours, and that is Forrest Whitley is finally getting called up to the big leagues.
Oh.
Kind of remarkable, really, considering, first of all, it's important to note that we think about Forrest Whitley. He's been around 6-7 years. He's still only about like 24, 25 years old.
Yeah, he came out of high school. Mm-hmm.
He's a pretty young guy. Obviously, he had been injured earlier this year, and injuries have been a significant deterrent to his getting to the big leagues. But the Astros need some help because they've been throwing so many innings in the bullpen.
Sure.
They've got to get some other people up here. I did see that this is their 24th pitcher to pitch. If he were to pitch, last year they threw 26 for the entire season. So you can pretty much see where that's going. So what are we hoping to see from Forrest Whitley, given the fact that this is, it's brand new for him and for us?
Well, I really don't know. I mean, he's thrown a few games in the minor leagues. He's had some good. He's had his last time out. He did have a pretty good game. He threw a shutout inning. I'm not sure how many innings he went. I would have to look. But listen, the stuff has always been there. What has been the biggest problem for Forrest? It's been his health, and it has been substantial how many times and how long he has been injured. So. We've seen it before. Seen guys that have really good stuff in their 20s, in their early 20s and mid 20s, and just can't really figure out how to stay healthy. And it's not until they start getting their man muscles, which is in their late 20s, that they can figure out how to stay healthy and how to stay on the field. So it's a body that the Astros need. It's a name that everybody knows. I'm just not sure what to expect from Forrest. Hopefully everything comes up roses.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, that's the idea, right? Especially with as long as it's gone on. I will say man muscles is something I'm going to start using, I think, from now on. That's a good one.
Well, what I mean by that is, a player hits his prime between 26 and 30. Well, as male of this species, that's when we fully develop. That's when our joints are completely closed. That's when we start getting a little bit more hair on our face. Maybe it's got a little gray in it. But bottom line is that's when we fully develop as male human beings.
I just like the name Man Muscle. I feel like they should make a protein powder supplement just called Man Muscles. I feel like it would sell really well at GNC and other fine retail outlets.
Yeah, the other one would be Dad Muscles. That's when you become a father. Yes.
That's a totally different situation. Dad bod is a whole different deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to put that in a jar. I will say, speaking of young pitchers, we did get a nice outing from Spencer Arrighetti last night. Allowed only 2 runs. I feel bad for him because Ronald Acuna is ridiculous. I mean, I thought I saw something that said out of his 80 pitches, something like 26 or 27 of them were to Ronald Acuna Jr., which is just crazy when you think about it. But otherwise, a pretty good outing. He's probably going to get sent back down as Justin Verlander works his way back into rotation. But I thought encouraging from him.
Big step forward from his last time out. The last time out, he looked pretty good there in Arlington. Looked good the first 2 innings. The third inning, the wheels fell off. Started with an infield hit, and then from there, just really couldn't stop the ball from rolling down the hill. And you have to give credit to the Rangers offense, but I think also it was a very tough situation for Spencer. Had the same situation yesterday, but was able to get out of it. Was able, gave up the 2 runs, but was able to still keep his team in the game, limit the damage. So I think it was a big step forward. And for no one else other than himself to know that yes, I can pitch at this level, and he did it against possibly a better offense than the Rangers in the Atlanta Braves.
Absolutely. And just one earned. I mean, there was the one error that cost him a run. Overall, I thought that his stuff looked good. He had 5 Ks. He seems like a guy that just probably needs a skosh more time. Like he's one of those. It's almost like if you're baking a pie and you put the toothpick in it to see if it's done in the middle.
Right.
It's close. It's not quite there. I feel like he's very close though, and that bodes well for the Astros going forward, because the way the injuries have been this season, they're going to need all the arms they can get.
Oh, you're going to see Spencer again, and probably sooner than later. I mean, I'm not making any calls, and for Spencer, I hope it's sooner than later. For the Astros, hopefully it's not sooner than later.
Right.
We'll have to just wait and see. But I thought, and I think he also made a big step forward in the pitchability of his stuff. We saw a lot more balls inside. He struck out Acuna Jr. twice, and also, kind of let him know he was out there. Threw 2 balls inside. I don't think they were supposed to be quite that far inside, but that's stuff you have to do, especially to those really good hitters, to open up the plate away.
As Nuke LaLoosh likes to say, you need to announce your presence with authority. But I will say, at least one good thing we have seen over the last few days, never mind, has been the middle relief has finally sort of stabilized. I think primarily because both Rafael Montero and Seth Martinez have been very good. They've been getting pitched too much, which is why Forrest Whitley is making his way up here. I mean, Brian Abreu looked pretty good. But what the hell is going on with Josh Hader right now? I mean, is it? Let me ask you this, Mike, as a pitcher. I did notice, and I've read a couple people talking about it, saying it doesn't look like he has quite as much vertical break on his pitches, but he still has his velocity, and his location has been a little off. Is this a mechanics thing, or what do we think?
Well, it's not a mechanics thing. I mean, he's got a very unique delivery, and it always has, where he turns his back to the hitter, and there's a lot of deception. To me, it's been all about, I agree with it, whoever's saying, the experts, that the slider does seem a little flat, but the other side of it is it's all location. You can throw a flat slider in a good spot, you're still going to get a result. I just feel like he's spending just a little bit he's making too many mistakes, and those mistakes are getting hit hard. He's going to be fine. This is still one of the best closers in all of baseball. Right. The Astros need him maybe more than any other reliever, because it sets up the rest of the game better. And he's going to be at the end of the season, he's going to be one of the best closers. There's no doubt about it. I'm completely sold on that fact. Right now, he's just going through a little bit of a hiccup. We've seen it a couple times in his career, not very often, but we've seen it a couple times where, even, the guy that strikes out more per 9 than anybody else is hittable. It doesn't matter how good your stuff is. If you don't put it in the right spot, in the right location, it's just not gonna work out well for you. And I think that's really, to me, how I feel. Pitching is location, 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 right. Just like real estate. And right now, the location just hasn't been there.
Yeah. I know a couple of years ago, he had a bit of a blip where he struggled a bit with his location. He was giving up too many walks. Yeah. And his ERA went up as a result. It feels a bit like that now. I also wonder if he's maybe a little overamped. Like maybe coming to a new place, pitching a new way, because he does look a bit at times, and I'm not no expert in this, but just watching him, it does seem like at times he's overthrowing a little.
Well, I think that's kind of his style. Now, there is a point, I was a guy that threw, we'll call it max effort also.
Yeah.
And there were times that, I went over max effort, and, that doesn't really bode well for your stuff. It doesn't bode well for your location. But he's a max effort dude. This isn't a guy that is out there nibbling at the corners. He's a stuff guy. It's about letting it eat. And occasionally he does walk some guys. When you've got the big stuff, the big velocity, the unique delivery, then sometimes he's not going to be able to put the ball in the zone. But I think what's been disheartening about this, and what has Astros fans concerned, is that he's also getting hit. If you walk a few guys and you don't give up any hits, you're okay with that, But, he hasn't really walked all that many guys. But, there's been some hard, he gave up, 5 hits yesterday? And 4 of those were actually considered hit hard, over 95 miles an hour. So, he's just not making the pitch he needs to make. But he will, he'll figure it out. Changing teams, big difference. Getting back here in Houston, a lot of pressure. And that pressure, some of that pressure is self-imposed. And that's where the pressure really can get to you, is when you're putting pressure on yourself.
It feels a little bit like a hitter who shows up and he's got an offer to start the season, and he starts pressing a bit. And I'm with you. I really am not too worried about
what was it? Jackson Holiday came with so much fanfare in Baltimore, and he went 0 for 13 or 14 before he finally got his first hit.
Right. One more thing that I forgot to mention on Arrighetti is, I don't know if you saw any of the broadcast, but they had a shot of him after he got taken out in the 4th inning. Where was he sitting? Right next to Justin Verlander. Sitting there having a conversation, and that is something you got to love. I mean, JV is he's exactly that guy. He loves to talk about pitching. He loves to talk with other pitchers about pitching. I'm hopeful when Forrest Whitley's up here, he's doing the same thing. Just soak that in. Hell, maybe Josh Hader should go have a sip with Uncle JV and see what knowledge he can glean, because that guy has a lot of it.
Oh, he does. And he seems to be open with his teammates to talk about it. And, when I was a veteran player, I kind of was the kind of player coach also. I had played for so long, been in so many situations. But, the other person has to be receptive. He has to be able to sit and listen, and to look at JV's resume, to see what he has. Going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. It carries a little bit more weight than a pitching coach. They can say exactly the same thing, use exactly the same words, but you're going to hear it a little bit different when it's coming from a Hall of Famer.
And not every guy who is in JV's position wants to be that guy either.
Sure.
I'm sure you've come across plenty of guys in the major leagues who are just wanted to do their job and go along.
And that's their prerogative. That's right. That's their prerogative. But a lot of players, when you become a true veteran, when I say true veteran, I mean even a salty V, you have that, you get into your late 30s, mid-late 30s, whatever, you want to help the team, because that's really what it's all about. It's not all about me. It's about the team. And, I think that JV absolutely realizes that at some point they're probably going to need Spencer Arrighetti to come up and pitch well in some tight situations. So, let's start working on really the mental side of it. That's more than anything else. I mean, he did a good job of, throwing the ball inside, which that was – when he was pitching in the first game, he threw everything away, and those hitters started sticking their nose out there, so made an adjustment there. No, but so it's a learning experience, to say the least. And, the biggest thing that I thought Spencer did yesterday was he controlled his emotions much better. I'm talking about in the 2nd inning or 3rd, whenever it was, they gave up the couple runs, that was a same situation in Texas, that it blew up on him, but he was able to control those emotions.
Yeah, that was a very impressive thing for him. And like I said, it's nice to see veterans who do want to sit down. You don't have to. Who cares if you do or don't?
Right.
But if you're going to do it, I mean, hardly a better guy to get it from than freaking Justin Verlander.
No doubt.
All right. Let's talk for a moment about how Jose Altuve is not human. Because he's leading the majors in batting average over 400. He is just destroying baseballs right now.
Yeah.
And you can make the argument that as a guy gets older, I saw somebody posted on X today about how guys over 37 years old or over, only 2 of them have a 100 plus OPS plus.
OPS
number.
plus, yeah.
Right.
So 100 is league average.
100 is league average, right. And only 2 guys are over 100. Everybody else is under 100. Now, obviously, Jose Altuve is not 37 yet, so it's a big difference. But he is playing some of the best baseball I've seen from him in his entire career, and just uncanny knack of knowing where the ball's going to be and putting the bat on it. He's just so impressive.
His bat to ball skills are about as elite as you can possibly get. And, you talk a lot about, we always talk about swings and how pretty of a swing. He's got a mechanical issue, this, that, and you don't talk about that with Jose, because that's not Jose's game. Jose is an ugly swinger. And when his timing, to me, the most important part of the swing for Jose is his timing. It's not the swing itself. Because when he's and listen, we talk about timing, we're always talking about being early. And we talk about timing. It's paramount to everyone, but it's more important to some guys than others, because Jose is so aggressive. There are times that it seems like he's going to swing at this pitch maybe before the pitcher releases it. That's not what's happening right now. Right now, he's seeing the baseball. Yeah, he's still early, but that bat he had against Pierce Johnson last night was absolutely amazing. It was a 12 or 13 pitch at bat. He saw like 11 curveballs, and that's really what Pierce does, and end up getting probably the ugliest swing in the at bat. Pierce finally gets the ball down and away. Jose's early, flicks the bat at it, and hits the ball pretty well up the middle for a base hit. Yep. You knew it was coming because Pierce just couldn't get him to swing and miss, and he did throw him a few fastballs. But, right now he is just so locked in with his timing, and that allows him to put the ball in play firmly just about whenever he wants.
It's interesting to me because I always think about that story that he is told about when he was a kid growing up, and he didn't, his family was not wealthy, obviously, and he would hit nickels or little rocks with a broom handle. And I remember thinking, honestly, that sounds like pretty good training. If you can smack a little pebble with a broom handle, that's pretty good eye-hand coordination training right there. And he's just so locked in. And, speaking of locked in, another guy who is finally starting to come out of his early season malaise is Alex Bregman. In his last 5 games, he's slashing .391, .391, .522 with a .913 OPS. Walk numbers for him are still a little down, surprisingly. Whereas for Yainer Diaz, they're like through the roof, shockingly. But overall, he seems to be coming around. He's definitely getting better at bats just in general. It feels like when you watch him at the plate, he kind of has more of a sense of what he's trying to do. And he doesn't look quite as lost up there as he has.
Yeah, he's not nearly as anxious. And again, we're talking when those emotions show up, and it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter if you're a first day rookie or if you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. Your confidence is going to waver. It's going to go up and down, and you try not to, but there's really no choice. And when those emotions show up, what does it do? It makes you commit early. It makes you swing out of the zone. It makes you early on the swing. And you've seen Alex kind of calm down a little bit. He's letting the ball travel a little bit more. We haven't quite seen the power stroke, but that's going to come with the quality of that bat. He's definitely made the adjustment. We see him do it every year. This year, he actually may be doing it a little bit earlier than usual, because it's usually May.
That's what I was going to say too.
Figures it out.
This is early for him. We're tax day. That's not super normal. Let me ask you a question about that. I know I've talked with Blummer about this before. I've talked with some other hitters about this. Talking about letting the ball travel, obviously allowing a pitch to get to you so you can hit it in the right spot. How difficult is that? Because you and I talked about it last time, the north, south, east, west, plus the give and take of faster and slower. Pitching. Right. How difficult is it for a guy to adjust when they do have, I don't want to call it the yips, that's not a fair way to put it, but when they are a little jumpy in the box, what do you have to do to sort of slow that down and be able to wait on the pitches that normally you'd be out in front of?
Yeah, it's all mental. I mean, that's really where this game, that's where slumps are. When you're playing well mentally, you're in a good spot. That's where it all is. And, those emotions that I was talking about just a minute ago, that goes for all aspects of the game. As a hitter, if you're jumpy, if you're not in a good spot, if you're over anxious, and again, the emotion doesn't matter. Mad, sad, excited, anxious, doesn't matter. All the emotions have the same effect. And for a hitter, it makes them early, which puts, as a pitcher, that puts me to an advantage. But that's when we talk about letting the ball travel, that's all timing. When is it, do I get my foot planted when the ball comes to me so I can accelerate through the zone and hit the ball hard? And it's really the hardest part of hitting. That's why pitchers throw off-speed pitches.
Right.
If you go all the way back to the very beginning of baseball, their job was actually to let the hitters hit the ball. So you threw everything the same. They didn't throw hard, but they threw everything the same speed, just kind of lay it in there. Well, they figured out, what? That's not any fun for the pitchers. So let's start spinning the ball and changing speeds and everything. And that's where we get to the game today. And that's why, hitting a baseball really in any game is the hardest thing to do in sports. I don't think there's any question. You got a round bat, a round ball coming to you with velocity. It's moving different every single time, and you're expected to square it up.
It is, as someone, I can attest as someone who's attempted to hit baseballs before in my life and routinely failed. I think what's so impressive to me about it is not just the hitting it. I mean, you can have guys with good hand-eye coordination who get around and get a bat on it, but to put it in play, to hit with any kind of power, and even guys like Jose Altuve who can almost guide balls where they want them to go. That's such an impressive skill. And I think right now, when you look at the Astros as a whole in their lineup, they have some guys who are doing that really well and others who are just not. Yeah. And that seems to me to be what's accounting for the struggles on offense right now, is you just have some places in your lineup like where guys just aren't hitting as you would like to see them.
Well, overall, the offense actually has been doing just fine. They're among the lead leaders in many offensive categories. The problem that they've had is they seem to be getting a little excited with runners in scoring position. So you saw the end of the Rangers series where they won 2 out of 3. And, the second half of the second game and then the third game on Sunday, runners in scoring position, they were outstanding. And they were, that was the situation. They were letting the ball travel. They had gotten a couple hits, and that just takes the pressure off everyone. Now, all of a sudden, those emotions aren't there. Now you're seeing the ball. You're letting the ball travel, getting your foot down in the right time, accelerating, hitting the ball hard. And that's all you can really do. The whole idea of getting a base hit, in a way, is actually an unobtainable goal. Because if you're a right-handed hitter, you've got 8 guys to your left and 1 guy to your right, sometimes 2 guys to your right, including the umpire. They're all trying to keep you from getting base hits. So what are you ultimately trying to do? You're trying to hit the ball hard. And the hits will come if you consistently hit the ball hard. At least that's the theory.
It's interesting to me, too, that the 2 positions, never mind the people, but the 2 positions really in the Astros lineup that are struggling are first base and center field, right? When you look at those guys, Myers, McCormick, and Dubon. Dubon's okay. He's doing Dubon-ish kinds of things, but not to the degree we saw last year. Chas McCormick is obviously struggling because he's swinging at pitches he doesn't normally swing at. And then you've got Jake Myers, who's just trying to keep his head above water. Then you have Jose Abreu, which we've already discussed him ad nauseum, and John Singleton at first. So you have really 2 positions in the lineup where every single day you're going to trot somebody out there who's probably not hitting particularly well. And it's a problem when you have, because there are going to be days when Jose Altuve goes 1 for 4 instead of 3 for 4, right? And Jeremy Pena, is as good as he has been, is going to, not be good one day. And if you have several guys all at the same time, then that's when you get these 1-run games.
Sure.
And that can be frustrating.
It can. And it's the nature of the beast that we call baseball, that sometimes, hitting is contagious, but also not hitting can be contagious.
Yes.
A lot has to do with the guy on the other side, the guy on the mound. If he gets a few guys out, his confidence goes up as the hitter's confidence goes down. That makes him, more aggressive in the strike zone. I mean, there's just so much that goes into the cat and mouse game that is Major League Baseball, or that is baseball in general. And it comes from that confidence. It comes from that concentration. It comes from that focus. And those emotions, that's why you've heard me talk so much about emotions today. That's the driving force in whether you're successful or you're not. If your emotions are under control, you can put together a quality at bat. Emotions are under control, I can make a quality pitch. If my emotions are not under control, all of a sudden I'm early, I'm swinging out of the zone, or as a pitcher, I'm walking guys, or maybe I'm throwing it right down the middle.
It's such a yin and yang dichotomy in sports that you have to maintain your emotions until you've gotten to the point where you can release them at the right time.
Right.
It's a very it's a complicated thing to do.
It is. And it's something that you work on constantly. You never figure it out. As soon as you think you figured it out, that's when it's going to come. It's going to jump up and bite you. So that's why you hear so much about the process, and you hear so much about, the work that you're doing on the side. Some of that work isn't physical work.
Right.
Some of that work is actually mental work, and the mental side of it is probably as important, if not more important, than the physical side in some cases.
Yeah. What is it? 50% of baseball is half mental.
90% of baseball is half mental. 90%
of baseball. Yeah. Thank you, Yogi.
Yeah,
Berra.
Yogi Berra.
Let me ask you this: How did you? I mean, nowadays I feel like every modern technique known to man is being employed and foisted upon every athlete, from meditation and yoga to mindfulness and whatever else.
Yeah.
Back when you were pitching, what did guys do to sort of work on the mental part of their game? I mean, I'm going to assume you guys didn't have the same level of therapists and things that they have today. What did you do to help yourselves in those situations?
Well, it was really an individual thing, or you talk to your teammates. How do you do this? Back in the early 90s, we did get our first sports psychologist. His name was Jack Llewellyn. And if you remember back in the day, it was John Smoltz who actually started working with him and then brought him into the Braves organization. The whole idea, if you remember the red shirt, he would sit behind home plate. Right. And it was a focus thing. It was focus. So he would see the red shirt, and you could tell, when John was trying to use his mental imagery, he'd put his head down, he'd close his eyes, and he's seeing himself have positive results, make the pitch he wants to, pop it up, ground out, whatever, because you're trying to get into a better positive state of mind. You have a better chance of success when you do that. Yeah. But when bad things are going, here's the thing: when your mind is racing, and I talk to players about this on a daily basis. When your mind is racing, it's never racing with anything good. Okay. It's always something bad. Right. And that mental approach is actually what drives you physically. You see Arrighetti, perfect example. When things started going around, Hunter Brown, who's starting tonight, his last time out, got 1/3 of it, got 1 out, gave up 11 hits. You saw him physically speed up his delivery, which means he was speeding up mentally. And that's where you have to try, you take the calming breaths, you do and what you're really trying to do is you're trying to reduce your heart rate, to reduce your brain waves, to get your mind in a better spot that you can actually use your brain. Instead of everything going crazy and everything going on fast forward. Okay, yeah. Now, what do I need to do here? Usually it's a ground ball. Let me get a ground ball double play. We'll get out of this and we're ready to go. But, that's why the mental side of the game is, like I said, is as important, if not more important than the physical side.
I can't remember the movie it was in, but I remember somebody saying, always using every muscle but the most important one.
That's right.
It's like, that's the thing. Somebody who is apparently using his correct muscles right now is Joey Loperfido. I just want to mention him. Congrats to the Sugarland Space Cowboy won Minor League Player of the Week. Mm-hmm. He was, I forget what it was. His OPS is like 1,600.
See, is he like 20 home runs already?
I think he has 9.
That might be a little high.
I think he has 9, but he had 5 last week. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. For all the people who are like, I even tweeted out, call him up. Because I just want to see him play because I love it.
Sure.
But his strikeout rate's nearly 30%. Right.
That's down. It was almost 50%.
Yeah. And that is to me, and you can tell me if I'm off on this one, but I feel like that is the number. If I'm a GM or a manager, that's the number I'm going to key on, maybe more than any other, to determine if a guy's ready to hit at the major league level. Because striking out, not only is it bad just in general in every way for an offense, but it's also demoralizing for hitters. And if you think if you're going to swing and miss at guys in the minors, you're going to swing and miss a lot at guys in the majors. And I would like to see that number down around 20, for me to really start thinking, okay, now this guy has a legitimate shot to be successful on the major league level.
Well, he's trending in the right direction. Like I said, he was up in the high 40s, mid-high 40s in strikeout percentage. It has come down. And that's something, when you get to the big leagues, if you're a swing and miss guy, there's going to be more swing and miss. The stuff, guys up here might not be throwing as hard consistently, but they've got better command of the off-speed stuff. They're also better mentally at figuring out where your holes are and attacking those holes. So as great as he has been, there needs to be more of a higher contact rate. And that's just the simple truth to the matter. You want a guy. Listen, everybody strikes out.
Yep.
Pitcher stuff is too good. Everybody, but you need to have the ability to put the ball in play with 2 strikes, and not strike out every time that happens. He's gotten the mistakes and he has hammered the mistakes.
Yep.
And the pitchers in the big leagues make mistakes. There's no doubt about it. They're not as many. They're fewer and far between. But there's no doubt he's gotten off to an incredible start. I hope he keeps it up. He keep the pressure on to get him up here to the big leagues. But, I think right now he just needs to increase that contact rate a little bit.
And really quite a meteoric rise for him through the minors. I mean, he's really grown as a player, as a guy who, I'm going to be honest, listen, how many of you watching or listening right now knew who the hell Joey Loperfido was prior to this spring? I'm going to bet not very many.
Not very many.
Not very many. Unless you're some kind of serious minor league nerd,
right?
You probably had no idea that he was even down there. So, it's baseball. Baseball is nothing else if not incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
So
you must have the MILB.com app always open on your phone. Those are the guys that knew.
Exactly. But I mean, it's such a frustrating game to have so many opportunities. I mean, when you more than 3 times out of 10, you're not getting hit when you're on the plate. So it's just incredible. I do want to mention upcoming. It looks like Justin Verlander will be back on Friday. Mm-hmm. There are rumblings that Framber Valdez might return for the Chicago series next week. So
today's a big day for Framber. This is when he was apparently all the pain is gone.
Yes.
So, and before, I don't know if he put the cart before the horse or not, but he was talking about not needing a rehab start. But I think today was the day he was supposed to start throwing. Everything goes well today. He throws a side session. Yep. He really hasn't been gone that long. So maybe he doesn't need any kind of rehab. Right. Rehab start or anything like that. But it's still, we got to make sure that the soreness is completely gone. He's free and easy. He can throw the ball the way he wants to.
Well, the good news was too, they said the soreness didn't come from a ligament. It came from a muscle. Right. So that's a key element there. I will say what's a big day for Framber, but it's a big day for Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown to me and JP France today and tomorrow. I mean, they may be staring down the barrel of a demotion if they can't figure it out. And look, JP France hasn't been terrible. He had one bad outing, and otherwise he's been what JP France has been, which is solid, bottom
solid back of the rotation,
exactly,
type starter.
Exactly. But Hunter Brown is a guy many people have expected more from, myself included. And this is a big start for him. And it's not going to be easy. I mean, he's going against arguably the best offense in baseball. I feel like with Hunter Brown, the biggest thing right now for him is, again, just like you say, like you preach, location. Yeah. He has got to pitch in the right spots and probably worry a little bit less about how good his stuff is. Just make sure he's hitting his pitches and where he wants to hit them.
When you go back and you go to MLB.com and you look at the highlights of that start, notice location. Location was middle of the plate, middle of the height of the plate. Yeah. When you're throwing the ball belt high, it doesn't really matter how hard or soft it is. The dudes are going to put a pretty good swing on it. And so it was the worst of bad starts to set a major league record, but it's behind him now. Go back out there and concentrate on locating your pitches. Yes. And that's what's going to get him out of this. So, I'm not really ready to send him down. I mean, because the other side of it, who are you going to bring up? Right. But this is, if the Astros are going to get where they want to get to, they need Hunter Brown right. And, sending him down could help. Sending him down also could not help. So I think he's right where he needs to be. He just needs to, get a few guys out and let that confidence start growing.
Well, it's also been complicated by the fact that I don't think anyone expected Ronel Blanco to be a legitimate starter.
Oh, my goodness.
When the Astros aren't going to keep a six-man rotation much longer. They're coming out of this first stretch where they've gone 21 games.
So 20 to 21,
days.
Whatever it is.
Something like that. They're going to be back to a normal rotation where they're going to be back to five guys. And it's going to get crowded in there. Now, with Ronel Blanco, you can't take him out of the starting lineup yet right now because he's just been so good. But he is at least a guy who can move himself into the bullpen and still maintain some of that ability because he's done it. Sure. That there are a few guys that can do that, but most of these guys, they are starters first, almost first, last, and always. And so it's going to get crowded in there pretty soon. Yeah. Hopefully
I'll tell you what, most general managers, and Dana will tell you this point blank, as soon as if you think you have too many pitchers, that's when things happen. When, you start looking into the future, we got 6-7 starters. You know what? Wait till you get there and see if it's a problem.
I can hear a young Mike Stanton in arbitration. Like, you think you have enough arms right now. He goes, you're going to get in the season and you realize you're going to need to pay me.
That's it.
To make sure. So just one last shout out to Angel Hernandez, who's terrible. That's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much.
I have no idea why he is still a major league umpire.
Yep.
I cannot figure it out to save my life. And I'm praying for robo-umps faster than ever as a result. That's all I have to say about that. Mike, you got anything any other last thoughts on these next couple games coming up?
I'm good. Let's just hope Hunter can do what he needs to do tonight and beat those pesky Braves.
I tell you what, if you're going to beat a team, the one good piece of news we all have is that the Astros, and I don't know if this is good or bad because who knows with this team, but they are about to come into a slightly better schedule. They're about to face the Nationals, the Cubs, and then the Rockies, or in some order of that of those three. And that makes a big difference. I mean, look, the Astros have started out with one of the toughest schedules in baseball this year, and it's hurt them. That and injuries have really hurt them. So we'll see if they can sort of turn that around. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Right. We will be back on Friday with a fresh short pod for you guys, and brought to you by BetOnline. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and of course on YouTube. As always, give us a follow, drop us some comments. We always like to hear them. You can find me at Jeff Balke. You can find the podcast at Believe in Astros, BLEAV. Mike is at Mike Stanton 29.
29.
And what is the 29, Mike?
That was when I made that account. That was one of the numbers that I used. That was the number I was with the Yankees and a few other of the teams I played on.
Nice. That makes sense. How many numbers did you have during your career?
Oh, gosh. 6, 7.
Nice.
A bunch.
A bunch. Well, that's good. That means you have a lot of lucky numbers. So
that's it.
Hey, if you've had 6, maybe just pick the lotto with those.
There you go.
Just do a pick 6 with your numbers. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Please be sure to stay tuned and listen, and hopefully get some wins in this upcoming next couple of games and heading into the weekend. And welcome back, JV. As always, go Astros.
Adios.